when you put pressure on me. Hey, this is me and this is Connor. We're Jinn and Coffee. Thanks.
That's the intro.
Yeah.
Asshole. Oh, fuck. Okay, well, did we decide what the first topic was going to be? We're going to be talking about horror, just in general.
Yeah,
really.
More generalized. Like, our first episode was vampires, which could be anything, really. Like,
and then the second episode was a movie about vampires.
Yeah.
And then this is going to be more horror. Eventually we'll talk about something else, but we both love horror, and she's seen more horror movies than I could imagine watching.
Right, because that's, like, all I watch, mostly.
And then I absolutely love everything horror, but I'm an idiot, and I don't watch that much.
I mean, I show you a lot. Like, if I think there's a good horror movie that we should watch, I mean, I'll come over and I'll show you.
Mm-hmm. You show me a lot, yeah.
Mostly through Joe Bob, because it helps.
Joe Bob helps any horror or non-horror fan find new horror movies.
Yeah, I mean, even if I don't like the movie that he has on that week, I still watch it because I like what he says in between.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, he played Next of Kin, which I think is a really, really boring movie. Really boring. Sorry, Australia. But
Next of Kin. Which one? Did we watch that one together?
No, we didn't watch it
okay.
because I thought it was boring. It's there's scary moments, right? And the ending's pretty good. But, like, I don't know if it's worth sitting through.
Oh, yeah?
But I still watched it again. Like, it was my second time seeing it, but this time with Joe Bob. And I still watched it a second time just for Joe Bob. Oh, but man, that one was a tough one to get through. Like, I've got a short attention span, but, like, I can force myself to watch slower movies, right?
Yeah.
This one, it takes hours to just get to the point. But I do like Joe Bob's rant about hand drying machines in public bathrooms.
Yeah, okay, so was that... He did that again, then? Because,
no,
Or did you just show me that clip?
I just showed you that clip specifically because I really liked his rant at the beginning.
I fucking cried.
Yeah.
I actually cried watching that rant. And then he goes into about that... What is it called? The one that's just a towel in a circle?
It's like a reusable hand towel, right? And he's going off and he's talking about, like, you know, paper towels that you just pull out and use, or hand drying machines, and he's like, these all have their merits, and he's like, and then there's the disgusting reusable hand towel, and he's like, the reason those don't exist anymore is because they're fucking disgusting.
It was so fucking funny. He got so mad about it. And then I remember those as a kid.
Yeah.
I remember seeing them in, like, bowling alleys and stuff.
Yeah, it was usually, like, really crappy places
but
that we saw.
I remember never thinking in my head that that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Because they probably barely do anything inside to clean it at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they just move to the department, and then it's, like, disgusting towel there.
They basically just flatten it back out so that when it gets to there, it looks clean.
Yeah.
I wonder how often did they ever replace those towels, or how often they did?
Because as a kid they were dying out. Like, for us, they were dying out. So at that point, they were only in, like, trashy places anyways. So, and I wouldn't trust people there to be like, okay, we need to disinfect this towel thing.
No.
They probably didn't.
No, I worked at restaurants, multiple restaurants, and yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah, I was the one cleaning the most, and I was like, what the fuck were they doing before me?
Yeah, right.
If I'm cleaning this shit.
You know there's no one telling the employees, like, oh, you should clean that towel thing. In the public bathroom. You know there's no... Because it's not the employees themselves' fault, but they need someone to tell them that that's something that needs to be done.
I had to go in and clean the bathroom every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know how goddamn many times a day that I went into that bathroom? Probably went in there to, like, pretend to shit more times than I went in there to clean it.
Yeah. Well, at least you were getting paid for...
007.
Yeah.
0 motivation. 0 anything. 7 poop breaks.
Yeah. Sounds normal. That's the normal amount of breaks during the day.
7 poop breaks. I mean, if these people can go out and take fucking 15-minute smoke breaks whenever the fuck they want,
yeah.
I get a couple poop breaks.
Yeah.
Oh, so horror.
Yeah. We got distracted by shitty employee conditions.
How about you start anything that you want to start off?
Well, we were talking about like the shitty Addams Family animated movie.
Yeah, I just found out that it wasn't Illumination.
No, it was like Sony Pictures.
Sony Pictures and then like Universal, I think,
yeah,
which is even worse.
Well, they're partnered.
I think Universal owns the rights to the Addams Family.
Yeah.
So, okay. But oh my god. Why is that Sony?
But I mean Universal also owns Illumination.
I already hate everything to do with Illumination. And now Sony comes out and just pulls it out of their ass like, look, we can do Illumination too. That's cool. I don't want you to.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, come on. The Sony Pictures is also responsible for the Emoji Movie. So...
Yeah, but they're also...
It's not high quality going on over there.
No. They're also the people that made the Miles Morales movie.
Yeah. And that was like 1 in a million of good things they've done.
That was the sexiest movie I've seen.
Yeah, well,
forever.
that's 1.
And also...
That's 1 out of 10.
And also, the first time I watched it, I was like, this is gonna hurt my eyes.
It's a really flashy movie. I didn't mind it, the flashes. But,
No, it didn't.
I can imagine it was harder for other people.
It didn't bother me as much as I thought it did, but everything bothers my eyes because I never wear my glasses.
Yeah, you should do that.
No, it's okay. But, yeah, what the fuck? Sony?
Yeah, well, and we were talking about Addams Family animated movie, which is bad, right? And I was on, like, I'm still on Tumblr. I'm one of the few stragglers that's still on Tumblr. It's actually a lot more bearable than it's ever been before. Because everyone who left went to Twitter.
Yeah, that's why. Literally, it was so funny, and we've talked about this before. Why the fuck? It's literally proven fact that all the Tumblr went to... I shouldn't say that. I'm going to cut that out. All the Tumblr people that were fucking idiots and screaming and ranting about everything on Tumblr, as soon as all the naked shit left, they went to Twitter, and literally as soon as Twitter went down in people that use it because of the whole like no more nudity thing, the like everyone is a shithole in Twitter happened. Like everything is canceled, everything is that.
Well, Twitter was already like that.
I feel like it got a lot worse.
It did get a lot worse, I think. Tumblr, lot more bearable place to be. Honestly, it's probably the most bearable social media place to be out of all of them now. One of the few stragglers who's on there now.
I don't want to agree with you just because I don't want to go on Twitter or go on Tumblr. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's a lot more easy to be on. Most people are a lot more like, Jude, chill out, stop being so angry all the time. You must be exhausted.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it is now.
Good. I'm happy.
And we're all more accepting of, like, this guy sucks, just block him.
Good.
You know, it's like, that's what's great about Tumblr. I don't feel bad about blocking people at all. Like, I've blocked a lot of people on Tumblr.
The last time
it's just like, I feel better not seeing them.
The last time I thought about Tumblr at all was the 4chan invading Tumblr thing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was a whole thing. I was on Tumblr still. Because there's a gap in between where I was on Tumblr for, like, most of the Tumblr, like, popularity years. And then I was gone because it was exhausting.
Yeah.
Like, it physically hurt me to be on that website. So I left for a little bit, and then I came back after The Purge.
Mm-hmm.
Much better place to be.
Man, The Purge, the bad movie.
Yeah, but a way better place to be. But I do remember the 4chan invasion.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything of it because it probably was fake.
There was also a 4chan invasion on specifically Steven Universe.
Oh yeah.
Did you hear about that at all?
No, I don't remember this.
Oh, this is a story for another time because this will take 30 minutes of me talking about that.
Good.
But going back to Addams Family, and I grew up on the Addams Family movies.
Yeah.
And I also grew up on my dad buying the tapes and DVDs of the original show.
Yeah, me too. I grew up with the movies and the show.
I think I remember growing up more on the movies because they were more towards my time, and I think my dad wanted me to get into something that wasn't as hokey as the original was. Hokey, quote unquote.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that hokey.
It wasn't.
Honestly, it's one of the few, like, 60s sitcoms that really hold up, like, today. You know, some 60s sitcoms are just like, ugh.
You know what else?
That doesn't work for me
anymore.
anymore.
You know what else still holds up today?
What?
The other weird freaking old one,
Munsters.
the Munsters.
Yeah, Munsters and Addams Family have aged really well.
Really well. What I don't get it, why is Addams Family still getting so much stuff and the Munsters like barely gets talked about?
Well, because Addams Family wasn't like just a sitcom; it was also a comic strip. It was like it was more of a mainstream type thing, and Munsters was specifically, I think, just a sitcom.
Yeah, I guess. I actually met Eddie Munster at a car show when I was like 7 or something. He was like 50 something at the time. Yeah. I think. And he had the in the Munsters movie the drag racer that they created. Yeah. He had that behind him and was talking to people, and I went up and was just like, "Hey, I love your movie." As my dad's standing there, and he's just like, "Why does this 3-year-old kid know who the hell I am?" It was really fun. I think I have something signed from him too. I have no idea where it is.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, I think it was a few years before I think he passed too. Either.
I think most of the cast is dead.
Yeah, but Addams Family. I grew up on the movies, and oh my god, they were so good. Yeah,
they're really good movies. The show's still really good. I like to play the show every now and then, just in the background.
I want to rewatch it again, or like I haven't. I'm not that person that can just have something in the background. Like if I have something in the background, I'll just get distracted from it.
Yeah, and I have like 6 things going on in my life at once in order for me to do one thing.
It's so funny because I'll just put on a show and I'll get distracted by my phone, and I'm horrible at multitasking. Yeah. So I'll just be on my phone and go, "Oh, I have no idea what the last 10 minutes of the show was." Yeah. But then if I'm trying to do something, if I'm trying to focus on something else, even on my phone or something, while a show is on, that I'm trying to have in the background, I'll focus on the show. Yeah. Like I'll do that with Critical Role all the time. That I'll just start watching it. I'm just watching people stare at each other, playing D&D, and if I turn on Ben 10, a show that I want to watch, I'll go on my phone and then forget what the hell is happening in the show.
Yeah. I don't know. Back to Addams Family movie. Yeah. When I was on Tumblr, like when it came out, right? Yeah. Because it came out, I think, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's a 2019.
Yeah. A lot of people were like, "Why does everyone think that they look ugly? Addams Family's supposed to be ugly and kooky and weird, right?"
What do you mean it's supposed to be ugly?
Well, I mean, they're supposed to be different and weird, right? Here's the thing, though. being ugly is not the same as having bad character design.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, but people will bring up, oh, well, this is directly from the original comic strip. Like, these character designs are from the original comic strip. That's fine. That's fine. Like, the original comic strip looks fine, but it doesn't translate well to 3D models.
Yeah, no.
You have to alter them, and they're completely unaltered. They look grotesque.
Mm-hmm.
It is such an ugly movie to watch. Like, content aside, I still probably couldn't bear watching the movie because of how horrible it looks.
I will never watch that movie. But talking about a movie that looks a lot like it, Igor.
Igor has good character design, though. So it doesn't look repulsive.
Yeah, but I'm, like, the Igor was made when?
2008.
2008. It has same, like, not,
sort of visual style.
Yeah, like visual style. It has a lot of this visual style, and it's just a 10 times better movie made a million years ago.
Yeah, and it still looks really good.
It still looks good.
It's really funny, and, like, this twisted humor for kids that I absolutely love.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it goes into the dark humor, and that's what I freaking love about kids media that had dark humor, because I was all over that shit.
I wish that they would still do that stuff. They don't really do it as much, at least, as they used to.
They always go back and forth. It's like, you know, whenever someone's like, oh, animation used to be so good 10 years ago, right? And I'm like, you know, there's just spurts in quality, right? Like, it's never like, oh, this is better than this. There's just gonna be gaps. Like, we're just gonna have gaps, and it'll go back to, like, quality stuff. Quit using that as an excuse to, like, shit on new generations.
Yeah, no, that's real.
2010s animation renaissance for Cartoon Network, golden. Fashion style from 2010s, disgusting. So, you know, like, it's gonna have ups and downs. We'll get back to our kooky dark humor for kids that I love. It'll come back. We're just not there right now.
That's real. Although I actually don't even know. I used to catch up all the time on what is playing on, like, Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. I don't even know what shows are playing right now.
There's not really anything new, really, on Cartoon Network.
They just replaying, like,
it's
the
like
good shows.
Well, if they're replaying good shows, they're also just playing Teen Titans Go. I think that's, like, their only main show at the moment. Which, like, I'm not a fan of that show, but I'm also not one of the people who's like, God, fuck that show, it's the worst show in the world. You know? Like, I'm not one of those.
Yeah.
Because I think that's too much energy to put into hating a show that much.
I'm looking what is current, and it is impossible to find.
Yeah, there's not anything new. I think they canceled Infinity Train, too. Which was, like, a really good show. That one, for darkness for kids, that's one of them. Like, that's one of those, like, dark shit for kids. And kids can handle it. They've handled it really well before. Kids can handle scary and dark things. Parents just think they're idiots.
Dude, it's literally only Teen Titans Go is current.
Yeah, that's what
absolutely everything else, the closest thing is Steven Universe in 2020.
Right.
Is ended in 2020. That's crazy.
Yeah,
what the
I was gonna say, I think it's only Teen Titans Go.
That is insane.
Hopefully we'll get to some new stuff. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, TV's kind of dying, so maybe things will change.
Yeah. I wonder if this is what streaming service is Cartoon Network under? Or do they have their own?
Well, they've got, like, their website and stuff and their app.
I guess, yeah.
But, like, they also host stuff on Hulu.
Okay. Yeah, I watch Ben 10 on there. So.
Yeah.
Or tried to.
They have Billy and Mandy on Hulu, but they don't have all the seasons.
I didn't even write that down as something we need to talk about, Billy and Mandy. Oh my god, my childhood is Billy and Mandy.
Oh yeah, Billy and Mandy, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Invader Zim, all those dark cartoons, those were the ones I watched.
The only one I didn't watch out of those was Courage the Cowardly Dog.
What?
I watched it. If it was on, it was on. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, the only reason why it was on my TV is because there wasn't something else on a different channel.
That's ridiculous. Courage is amazing. And scary.
It was. I guess it wasn't scary to me as a kid, but and because it wasn't super scary to me, it was just like, this looks really stupid. I think if I went back, shut up. If I went back now, I would probably watch it and love it.
Yeah.
Because I've seen absolutely every single clip about it, and I love every clip of it, and it's really funny.
Yeah.
But I remember the intro. I remember a few episodes that I really liked. Like, my brain has shut off. The really, really creepy ones, which are like the ones that had the 3D animation on top of it.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Those I really, really liked. And I think I would smack myself in the face as a kid to not have watched it. I should have. But, yeah, I love horror from a really young age, but I don't think that scared me.
Well, I wasn't.
And then that's because, like, that's something that I was really looking for as a kid, was scaring me. And the closest thing that did scare me was I loved X-Files. Yeah. And I watched X-Files when I was like 9 and 10 years old. Yeah. A lot earlier than most people do. Yeah. And then I think it just turned into, I realized that horror doesn't really scare me, anything that I do watch. Yeah. And so I love it just for it being in existence.
Yeah, I mean, I constantly, like, not a lot of horror scares me, but I'm constantly looking for a horror movie that'll get under my skin. There's a couple of those out there. But I think that all stems from all the scary shit I watched as a kid. Yeah. Including stuff that either was or wasn't aimed at kids. So, like, Billy and Mandy, Invader Zim, Courage. Those were aimed at kids, and I watched those. Monster House. Watched every Halloween.
Oh, I love Monster House so much.
That's a pretty good, like, kids horror movie too.
Yeah, it is. I think that's a good introduction to horror for kids because it's not overly terrifying,
but it is.
But it has
scary.
Really, really scary moments.
There are some really genuinely scary moments in that movie, and I think they work really well.
I think one of the things is my dad hates horror movies. Like, he will not watch them no matter what.
He's scared?
I don't know if he's scared or if he just, like, hates me. But he loved Monster House. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that was one of the reasons why I watched it, and oh my god. I remember vividly every moment, and I legit actually think that after credit sequence was only added so that they could keep it PG.
Yeah, I think if I remember the commentary for that movie, that is correct. They added that just for the fact that they didn't want the studio to be mad at them
for killing off characters.
Yeah. But I think that's the only reason. It's also a really nostalgic movie for me.
It is,
when it came out, what was the climate of stuff that we were getting at the time?
Oh shit! I just thought of something I could add. What is it called? It's the same time. The Witch one. The Witch movie?
The Witch movie?
Yeah,
Was it for like, kids or?
Yeah, it was really ugly. It had really, really ugly animation.
You talking about Scary Godmother?
Scary Godmother, yes.
Oh my god, I love Scary Godmother much.
I loved the fuck out of that as a kid. Yeah. I loved it so much.
Oh my god, I still watch it every Halloween.
I haven't watched it in years, and I think I would, like, hate myself if I watched it.
No, I mean, the animation is dated, yeah. But, like, it's really stylized. I think that helps.
I think the closest thing that I got to it is I think I watched either Drew Gooden or somebody like him. Mm-hmm. Was it Danny Gonzalez?
I don't remember.
No, it was Bionic Pig. Bionic Pig did an episode on it.
Yeah.
And he was so funny. He was just like, why is this shit good? It's dumb. It's dumb. I don't like that. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's so, like, wholesome for,
But
like, a
it's-
Halloween show.
Yeah,
like,
but
special.
It's ugly.
Well,
It's very stylized.
Yeah, I think the stylization helps. I think they tried to stylize it as much as possible because they knew it was going to be dated later. So they tried to make it as, like, different than, like, anything else that was going on at the time. And I think it works for the most part. The animation has never bothered me. I still watch Scary Godmother every Halloween. Good stuff. Very nostalgic, along with Monster House. Reminds me of good old days I never had.
What else came out around that time?
What was it, like 2006?
Yeah. Did Coraline come out?
Coraline came out around that same time. Loved that movie. Definitely one of my number one childhood movies.
Want me to tell you something funny?
What?
I've never watched all of Coraline.
What? When Coraline was coming out, the movie, I was still in elementary school. And I found the book for Coraline.
Yeah.
And I read that in preparation for seeing the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Really scary book. Thanks, Neil Gaiman. He knows what kids want. He knows what spooky kids want. And it worked because I was always looking for that scary shit as a kid. That book is actually genuinely unsettling.
Really?
Yeah, and the movie translates that really well. It's one of the best, like, movie adaptations of a book I think I've seen in
I remember that whole generation of movies like Coraline, like Corpse Bride, James and the Giant Peach.
James and Giant Peach was like years. It was the 90s.
I don't know. I just remember them all. I just remember watching them at all at the same time, so I don't even know if they were like coming
connected
out. Yeah. But I just remember I had like a full like 2 or 3 years of me just loving those type of movies. And I think it's funny that people are like some people. I know a person that is absolutely terrified of stop motion.
Yeah, they suck.
And I'm like, how are you scared of stop motion?
Stop motion is like the best animation style.
I love it.
There's no comparing it. You can't like emulate it without doing it, you know?
Actually, talking about it, I genuinely love Corpse Bride.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch that until much later.
Yeah.
Corpse Bride, I love everything about it until the ending.
See, I actually think the ending's one of the saving lights of it. You wanted him to get with Emily.
I wanted him to get with the corpse.
But that was like not the point of the story.
I know that wasn't the point of the story, but he gets with the girl that just didn't interest me and kind of annoyed me throughout the whole movie.
Well, he's just as interesting as she is. That was kind of the point. Like, they were supposed to be like plain.
I didn't like that. I wanted him. He needs to get some spice. If you're gonna yell at me, before the podcast, you yelled at me about, you can say it the way you said it, but how there's big wizard evil monster guy, and then the person gets with Chris from Algebra.
Yeah, that's from Jenny Nicholson. She's the one that came up with that. I cannot stake claim to that comparison, but it's true. It's true.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying.
That Chris has any kind of validity.
No. That's what I'm saying in Corpse Bride. Is that he goes with the plain Jane girl.
But the thing is it wasn't like a love triangle thing, because he was never interested in Emily. Not romantically, at least.
I don't care. He needs to get with the... I'll go and get with the corpse myself then.
Okay.
I loved her. I loved her so much.
Is that just because you like Helena Bonham Carter?
No.
Because I would understand if that's the case.
Well, first of all, I'm really good with actors, and I don't remember who that is.
You don't know? You don't remember Helena Bonham Carter? You're looking out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, my wife.
Yeah.
In every single Tim Burton movie ever created.
Yeah. I grew up with Corpse Bride, but it was never my favorite, I don't think.
I didn't grow up with that. I got into that when I was like 18.
Right, but I grew up with it, like, as a kid.
Yeah.
And it was never my... Like, I watched it a lot, but I don't think it was ever my favorite. I think at one point when I was a kid, I was like you, and I'm like, why didn't he just get with Emily? Right? And then later, I'm like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense.
Well, no, it makes sense for the story and everything. My heart goes out to her.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that draws me to Corpse Bride so much is that I love the world of it.
You like the Land of the Dead?
Yeah.
And like boring Victorian era, like alive world?
Yeah.
I like the duality where like the Land of the Dead is more lively than like stuffed shirts Victorian live people. But it's not a movie I really like, I guess. I think it's really slow.
Yeah.
Like, it's mostly just him, like, once he gets down into the Land of the Dead, he's just, like, there, wandering around for, like, a long time. Like, the whole middle of that movie,
I think...
it blanks out on
the
me.
whole middle of that movie was literally just world building for the Land of the Dead, and then they didn't really do much with it.
Yeah, he just walks around and is like, "Ooh, my gosh, scary, the dead."
Skeleton, the 50th skeleton, the second.
Yeah, and then that was like the movie, you know?
Yeah.
I think it was a little slow in the middle. Like, the story itself is actually, like, really short, and they kind of dragged it out.
No. The next Tim Burton movie... Definitely Tim Burton. Nightmare Before Christmas.
It's not Tim Burton, but yeah.
Yeah, that was...
Love that movie. It's not Tim Burton, though. I hate that they put his name on it, because that's such an insult.
He literally did nothing. He
put
money towards the project.
He put money towards the project, and then he left. Henry Selick's Nightmare Before Christmas. He's the man and the whole crew who helped create that, like, amazing movie. That timeless movie. Tim Burton did create, like, the storybook for it, like, before the movie came out, which is really, like, simplified.
Yeah.
So then they added more character to it. And then that was...
Yeah. The Hot Topic movie.
Yeah, basically.
Me working at Hot Topic, half of the things
Nightmare Before
that
Christmas
were sold at Hot Topic was Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like half of the things that were sold there. It was half of the things that people would talk about.
Yeah.
Was Nightmare Before Christmas. And I was like, man, I love that movie, but can we shut up for a minute?
Can we talk about something else for 1 second?
For like 10 seconds. All I wish for.
Yeah. That movie's great, though. I watch that every Halloween and Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Henry Selick went to do Coraline.
Yeah. He is amazing with that. And
Laika Studios. Every movie besides, like, Box Trolls from Laika. 10 out of 10. Amazing movie.
What other movies have they made?
Paranorman.
I love Paranorman.
Paranorman's 10 out of 10, too.
I love
Kubo and the Two Strings.
I don't know that.
10 out of 10 movie. Freaking love that. There is another movie that came out recently about a Yeti, and I don't remember it. I haven't seen it yet. That's why.
Okay.
But then there was Box Trolls, which was like, okay.
Yeah.
But like Laika Studios, they deserve every single cent of money. Because I want them to make more. But like people are like, oh, I don't like stop motion. And I'm like, God, I really hate you. I really hate the world. More like a production studio.
What other animation, like horror, is there? I'm trying to think.
Well, there's plenty. I mean, there's also like few adult animation for horror. Sometimes there's like short film horrors. If we're still talking stop motion, there is this short film that was on YouTube by a single creator, and it was a short horror film, and it was genuinely terrifying. Gave me nightmares as a child.
What was it called?
God, I'm sure it's still up. Like, I'm sure I can still find it. Let's see. Haunt. Yes. Came out 14 years ago.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that was amazing.
Yeah, it gave me nightmares as a child. Because I used to watch it a lot.
You know what hurts me more than anything on this planet?
Huh.
Is seeing the anything over 10 years ago on YouTube.
Yeah.
Anything that says that, it like hurts me because I've been on this platform almost the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't
Haunt,
like it.
I think, was one of the first YouTube videos I ever watched. Because I didn't get on YouTube until I could use the internet, which was like 7 or 8 at the time. And I didn't have a tablet or anything. I had the house computer to go on YouTube. And I used to watch this. And even though it gave me nightmares as a child and it scared the shit out of me, I kept watching it. I loved it. That was the weird, fucked up kid I was. I liked being scared.
Around this time, I loved a bunch of stuff that was like I would watch a bunch of those things on YouTube, just of the like ghosts or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the white rocking chair.
Yeah.
I actually watched that with Kat.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I had ever seen it, and he like just turns it on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, what the hell is this? Oh, what the fuck! That was so funny. And then I'm like walking down the stairs. It was like right before I left to go home.
Yeah.
He's just like, I need to show you something before we go home.
Why would he do that to you?
I have no idea.
That's so rude.
I love him. I love him so much.
I watched a lot of horror, like, shorts on YouTube as a kid. A lot of those short films that were, like, animated, that were horror themed. I really liked those as a kid.
There's actually a horror stop motion artist that I watch on
he's a soloist.
Instagram.
Are you talking about the guy that I'm thinking of?
I think so.
Is he Japanese?
I'm not sure. And he does like the really creepy like Play-Doh type stop motion stuff.
Is it this guy?
No.
Okay, that's the guy I was thinking of.
It looks a lot more like that.
Oh, okay.
Type of stop motion. And like a lot more like it's like Play-Doh faces type stuff.
What, like Jack Stober or?
I'm not gonna be able to find it because I never see his posts on Instagram. He doesn't post that often, but when he does, I love him.
While you're looking that up, I also remembered, right out of my memory, this short Halloween-themed horror film that was animated that I watched a ton as a kid, and I freaking loved it. I wish there was more of it because I watched it and I was hoping there would be a series.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just a short film. I couldn't tell if it was a pilot or anything, but it definitely didn't get picked out for anything. It was very Halloween-y and very like storybook scary. The main girl, she looks like Daria.
Oh yeah.
And the name of it I think was called Deadtime Stories.
Why does that sound familiar?
Well, there is a movie called Deadtime Stories, but it has no relation. So you might be thinking of that. Yeah, it was a dropped pilot. I found it. Came out 14 years ago.
This does look familiar.
I used to watch it a lot as a kid because I really loved it. It was very Halloween-y. Watched it all the time as a kid.
Okay, so you just showed me Deadtime Stories.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen those characters before.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever watched that.
Yeah. No, it was one of my favorites as a kid. Again, that was what I watched as a kid. Was horrifying, scary shit.
It also said something on there that I dread.
What?
It said the 13 years ago thing.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
It was 13 years ago. It was a drop pilot, though. I wish there had been more.
Oh, that would have been really good as a series.
Yeah, right? Like maybe on Adult Swim or something. Adult Swim would pick it up.
Yeah.
And they like experimental stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Cause
I needed a beer after that.
There's no way it could be a kid's show. They had to keep the scary monsters, the bloodthirsty ones.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, Adult Swim probably would have. I mean, maybe years and years ago, MTV might have taken it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I don't think that Adult Swim still couldn't show like very violent death.
They can now. I mean,
they can now.
Look at Rick and Morty.
Yeah, that's true.
They can do whatever they want now. I mean, stop itching your tattoo.
Yeah, I get it. Shut up. It's hard. It's at the very end stages of healing, and so it's
gonna be the worst and also the most where you shouldn't scratch it.
Well, I guess to finish off the animation, we could go into anime and.
Yeah, whatever. Like, there's scary anime out there.
I have not watched that many horror anime.
Yeah.
Because horror and anime doesn't really work well together.
Well, I haven't seen a lot of good horror anime. There is some.
But one of the things that I think is really funny with anime is they kind of add the horror tag onto anything that has like monsters or anything. Like Demon Slayer, which you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Is a horror, apparently. Which is literally just he fights demons or not. Yeah, basically demons.
And that just means it's a horror now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works.
No, it is. You know how it is.
But like
there was one drop of blood, so it's horror.
There's only been a few anime shows that have really like actually been horror to me.
Mm-hmm.
Higurashi.
Still haven't watched it.
Oh my god, one of the best out there and one of the only.
Yeah.
Higurashi.
Yeah, didn't they make a remake of Higurashi? Like they're making one now?
I haven't seen it yet. I think it's a continuation.
From what I've heard, it's a continuation and it's really good.
Yeah, well, it's Higurashi. It has to be good. We don't talk about Higurashi Kira. Nope.
Okay. Okay. Whatever you say. I didn't even know what that is.
We don't talk about
what you were saying.
There's Higurashi, the first 2 seasons. Right, a Higurashi, because it's like they're all split up. Like you don't have to watch the other 2 seasons of Higurashi because they're totally separate. But the first 2 seasons of Higurashi are like its own contained story. It's finished by the end of it, and the first season's really good at the horror elements, right? Without telling you really anything that's been going on. Really good horror season, and then season 2 is the mystery aspect where you actually start figuring out what's going on. Really good. Less on the horror in season 2, but I mean, we start to figure out what's going on, so it's less scary.
Yeah.
But season 1 of Higurashi, perfect horror season. Great. Genuine scares.
What was the other one? You said you were going to say a couple.
The other one is Shiki, which is a vampire one, and one of the only vampire animes that I actually really like.
I'm trying to remember what Shiki is because I know the name. I know it, like, I just watched somebody else talk about that, and I don't remember.
Shiki is about a small Japanese town that's invaded by a group of vampires.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the first half of the season is, like, the humans are the victims of this vampire invasion, right? And more humans get infected by this vampire epidemic. People are dying all around because the vampires are killing and turning people into vampires, right? The second half of the season is the humans' retaliation against the vampires. And now it's the vampires being victimized by the humans. And the humans almost look a million times worse than what the vampires are doing. And then there's these two characters. One is a priest, I think. Human priest. He's an adult. And one is a little girl who's a vampire, who's been a vampire for hundreds of years. Right. And they're the only two that are, like, on common ground with each other.
Yeah.
And they are basically, like, they're, like, the philosophical, like, message of the anime, where it's, like, who's actually a monster. Right? Because the little girl vampire is just like, well, I didn't ask to be a vampire. I have to kill to live. It's not my fault. I didn't ask for any of this.
Yeah.
You're the ones who are going out of your way to torture and kill me, right? And then he's like the only one who sympathizes with the vampire's plight, but he's also like human. He has to deal with that. Good show. Totally recommend it. And really good at the horror aspect. Like, the vampires look genuinely creepy with the way they act.
What else? Is there anything else for anime that you can think of?
Anime shows,
Because with the vampire thing, I think I brought it up in the vampire episode we had, but Mars Red is really, really good. It's still coming out at the time of this recording, but it's really, really good. And I really want to show it to you because it's like, it's set in 1920s, I think America, and it's it's 1920s Japan, and it's like there's the normal army force or whatever, and then there's a quote unquote secret army force which is to hunt vampires.
Yeah.
But it's like legit actual military people.
Yeah.
And it's really good at setting everything up. I'm not sure if it's going to be horror or not, because there hasn't really been anything creepy or scary about it so far, but there's been setup of, like, there's very much stuff that we do not know about this universe so far. Yeah. I really want to watch that with you eventually.
Yeah, we'll have to watch it. But in terms of, like, stuff that I would consider scary anime, there's not a lot of shows out there. There are a good amount of, like, scary anime movies. Perfect Blue being one of them.
Perfect Blue. I was gonna bring up Princess Mononoke. Isn't horror, but it has really, really creepy aspects to it, like the like monsters with the gods? And stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the way the gods act, I'd say, are like, they're unnerving because they're not human-like. But they're not animal-like either.
No. I love it so much. It's so unbelievably, like, creepy with the things and sometimes it isn't even like they're not trying to be creepy or anything. It's just that the way that they act is so different from us. Yeah. That it's really creepy.
Yeah, especially because Studio Ghibli's really good at, like, human emotions. So when you see them not do that, it's, like, jarring. Perfect Blue, perfect psychological for me. I love some psychological horror. It's, like, my all-time favorite next to, like, straight up surrealist horror. I'd say I always recommend Perfect Blue to, like, a lot of people, especially because it seems like that movie gets more relevant as the years go on. Because it's about becoming an idol, basiconsally people's parasocial relationships to you.
Yeah, the parasocial relationships. And I actually just was gonna say that I just watched Bonsai Pop's video. Like, I keep rewatching it, and then I watch other people's videos on Perfect Blue. Yeah.
And you still haven't seen it yet.
I know. I've watched it. I know everything that happens at this point because I've watched so many videos on it. And it's a very interesting movie, and I think it's so relevant to today that a lot more people are talking about it and more because it's that parasocial relationship of an idol and then the people watching that idol or wanting to be that idol or wanting to live through
or the idol. Dehumanizing of celebrities, you know. Yeah. It's like as soon as you become famous, you cease to be human. That sort of thing. And you're not allowed to make choices for yourself and your career anymore.
And watching the character go through all of that, not knowing that basically her whole life was dictated by a person living her life through her.
Yeah, someone who she considered pretty close to her. But someone who had a parasocial relationship with her.
I'm talking about it as if I've seen it because I've watched so many videos about it.
Yeah, at least I've seen the movie.
Well, I've seen images. I've seen videos.
I've got a poster of the movie. I've got the soundtrack on vinyl because the soundtrack's really scary too.
Yeah, I've heard the soundtrack and I love it.
Yeah, really, really scary horror movie soundtrack. Very unnerving movie to watch because it's like, if you've never seen the movie before, you know as much as she does, as Mima does. So, like, it's very, just as she struggles to maneuver the world with these horrible things happening to her, you have no idea what's going on with her either. So you're just as confused and terrified.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good.
Talking about, like, not knowing what's going on and everything, there's a show that's coming out as well that I'm watching, called Shadow's House.
Yeah.
That's another show that I think you would really like. That's the one that I showed you the pictures of.
Oh, yeah,
like,
yeah. That looked
like,
interesting.
Yeah, it's like, so there's, the main people, which is the Shadow family. Yeah. Which is, they're literally just, like, they're cast in shadow, and it's basically soot that is coming out of them and everything. And then there's, their faces, which are, it looks like from even the first 5 seconds of the anime, which they never touch on again, at least to this point.
Yeah.
Is that it looks like they abduct people and then put them in, like, train them or, like, wipe their memory of who they were before to turn them into, like, living dolls for the Shadow family so that they can have their faces. Yeah. And it's so interesting. And it, without going into too much spoilers, it's literally, like, there's so little that they give you, and you're watching everything unfold through the eyes of one of the dolls, basically. Yeah. And the soot, eventually, if you don't clean it, which is the main thing that the dolls do, is clean up after their masters, which are the shadow, or their faces, and they are the faces of those shadow people, and they have to clean after them and everything. And one of the main things is, like, if too much soot sits for too long, it'll become alive like a monster, and it's so beautifully illustrated. Yeah. I love it.
You showed me some pictures of it. I like the twisted storybook style of it.
Yeah. The manga very much looks like a twisted storybook type thing. And then
which is my favorite.
The anime does pretty good at replicating that. Even though it has very pretty animation, once it gets to that creepy stuff, they're really good at, like, using the good animation in that way.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Speaking of others, I guess it's a horror movie to me.
What does that mean?
Like, it's hard to say if this could be classified as horror to some people. Angel's Egg.
Oh, yeah. I think the first time I watched it, we watched it together.
Yeah, because I wanted to show it to you.
Yeah, yep. It's so pretty.
It's a really pretty movie, but it's a really sad movie, but, like, in a way that's not overt.
No.
Like, it's very melancholy, but you don't really have an explanation as to why it's so sad.
I tried to get a couple of people onto this movie after we watched it.
Yeah, and they didn't.
And, well, one of the people was Jason, with my roommate, which we talk about anime all the time. Yeah. Although I think it's more of he knows about what's happening in anime and he doesn't watch it. Yeah. But he tries to stay updated so we have more to talk about. Yeah. And then we just go back to going, okay, let's watch JoJo together. But, I was telling him about it, and he's like, well, tell me about Angel's Egg. Maybe I'll jump on it. And I told him that it's an hour and a half of 5 lines of dialogue.
Yeah, there's only, like, 5 or 10 lines of dialogue in the whole movie.
And he was like, And you don't need to tell me anything else. I'm already interested. I don't think he watched it.
Yeah.
But he was interested just from that explanation. And I love... I was complaining about it before the podcast started. But I really do actually love those moments where it's basically like one frame of animation of just her. Like, the main one that I think about is her looking out of that first whatever hole or whatever out into the ocean.
Yeah,
she looks out.
Yeah, where the giant eye ship is.
Yeah. She's looking out there, and it's I think like almost over a full minute of just panning across her face and then to the ocean. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of animation in her hair. But literally, other than that, that's basically like maybe 40, 50 different hair movement things, and then they're just moving it again and again in different ways.
Yeah.
I complain about it because it's very cheap, but it's also, it works so beautifully in the context of the movie. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Angel's Egg is a surrealist, I guess, psychological horror movie. Yeah. Very melancholy. I call it horror. Some people wouldn't call it horror.
I think I would classify it as horror.
It's horror to me because of basically what it says about the universe to me. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something really scary about having a crisis of faith. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's the sudden realization that there's nothing out there for you, and there's nothing in the beyond.
Do you know any of the backstory to this movie?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, this is the movie that I know a lot of background about, because I also watched way too much videos about this one after we watched the movie. Yeah. I love that it was basically created because of a Japanese man's loss of faith in Christianity.
Yeah. And what I also like is he doesn't know how to fully explain the movie either. No, it's totally interpretable to anyone.
He interpreted it by saying that he couldn't interpret it himself.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of things in it that I think he even can't really explain.
And I think it's perfect because he really put into it all of the things that he was feeling and all the things he was, like, unsure about. Yeah. How he was, like, there's more of a feeling of the movie than there is an explanation to it.
Yeah, and, like, how would you explain the plot to someone? Because it's not like there's really a plot.
Well, you see, there's an egg.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest way I can describe the plot is a little girl in, like, this sort of dystopian-looking world is carrying...
Future?
Yeah, future, maybe. Is carrying around this giant egg and just surviving until she meets this guy who looks like a Christ figure. He's carrying, like, a mock cross.
A mock cross that also looks like a rifle?
Yeah. And they start traveling together just, like, I guess out of obligation. He's interested in the egg that she has because she thinks it'll hatch, and he thinks it's empty. Basically, they just go through their lives for however long they do. We don't really know how much time they spend together, but eventually in her sleep, he destroys the egg. And then I think
the most blood-curdling scream.
Yeah, she does not take it well at all.
And then...
But I think that was her... Like, the way she screamed totally, like, felt like what it feels like to have crisis of faith.
Yeah,
you know, like, to lose... To feel like you've lost everything.
That, like, gave me goosebumps. Don't say that. Don't ever say that again.
Well, I mean, that must have been what it is, because the Christ figure, and her, I would assume the Mary figure... Mm-hmm. He has lost hope. Like, he's completely cynical. He has no hope for the world or for God or for Christianity, right? But she still believed in it, and he willfully took that away from her. And that scream just was this realization that there was nothing.
The realization that there was nothing and that she didn't have the choice
right
of losing that, and I feel like
because who does
yeah.
really? You don't really get the choice of losing your faith. Sometimes it just happens.
If you believe in it or not, it's a real thing that sometimes, even if you believe in it, it is a question that
that's just
sits.
Because it's hard to explain how belief works, but maybe it's never your choice to lose your belief. Like, it almost never is. Sometimes it just happens and you can't control it. You just realize one day there's nothing out there in the beyond for me. I'm not going anywhere. It's just gonna be darkness.
I really like the way that you explained that. I liked how you said there's nothing out there for me, because like it's different for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's so.
But when a crisis of faith happens, it's almost always involuntary. Like, who would want that? Who would want to just lose it? Lose the things that you've known your entire life. Mm-hmm. So the fact that he took that choice away from her, I think, is in a lot of ways just completely accurate. Whether it was him or not, she was going to find out that there was nothing in the egg. Yeah. You know?
That.
Or maybe she wouldn't. The egg just would never hatch and she would never know.
This movie is also, I don't know if it's created or it's illustrated by the same person that also made what's it called? Vampire Hunter D, and also the illustrations for all of the Final Fantasies.
Yep. That's why it looks so gorgeous.
It is so beautiful.
It is so pretty. I thought about getting the art book for this movie, but it's super expensive.
I bet it would be. Yeah.
Especially because it's hard to find copies of it.
I love art books. I've never owned one, but if I were to ever stop doing anything other than collecting manga, I'd be collecting art books.
Yeah, art books are so pretty.
Oh.
I mean, I guess Angel's Egg is not for everyone, though. It's a pretty slow movie. You really have to, like, you have to know what kind of movie it's gonna be, and then be ready for it. You know.
When you say slow movie too, you have to explain it isn't just a slow movie. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Of, as we said, 5 to 10 lines of dialogue.
Yeah. They don't talk a lot in this movie.
There's a lot of things that happen that don't have explanation.
Yeah.
Like the there's what is it called? The glass like from church.
Yeah.
What is it called? I can't remember. Like the glass
stained glass?
Stained glass paint. And there's like a stained glass of a gigantic koi that then turns into these men that were like statues almost, that see these shadow koi that do exist in their minds, that they're trying to catch.
They're trying to catch these fish.
But they don't exist in the real world. They only exist in these shadows.
Yeah.
Then at the very end of that scene of like a really beautiful 20-minute, 30-minute just fight of them going out of their way to try to kill these koi, that it smashes through that stained glass window that the little girl and the Christ figure were like walking past, and she was awing and he kind of was indifferent about.
Yeah. I also think that has to do with the inevitability of nothingness. Like, the koi are shadows, right? Mm-hmm. And these men are chasing after these shadows that don't exist. And they're trying to catch them with harpoons. And the harpoons are destroying everything in sight. Which is kind of accurate to religion in general. Like, whether you have a religion that you believe in or not, one can't deny the destruction fanaticism for religion causes. How it destroys things in its wake. And that's kind of how I interpreted it. Like, these guys are chasing after these fish that don't exist, and they're trying to catch it, and they destroy buildings and break these windows while trying to catch the fish. So I interpret it as, like, religious fanaticism, and also, like, you're never going to get what you're chasing after.
I really like that explanation. I think of it pretty similar.
Yeah.
Of something that they believe no matter what full-heartedly that they can still catch it, even though they don't really ever get results.
Yeah.
There is still that belief in it, and maybe one day they will. And I think maybe that shattered window is either them eventually getting it, but not in the way that they want it.
Yeah. Or
losing that faith again.
Right.
Or losing that, destroying something so beautiful that.
Yeah.
Is it
and
worth?
What was it worth? You know, you didn't get anything out of it. You just destroyed things.
I think that was the longest we've talked about one thing without ranting about something else.
That's why I think this movie's like a horror movie, at least to me, because I'm agnostic, right? But I'm also an existentialist, right? And existentialism is something that I subscribe to, but I'm also deeply afraid of. Again, I'm always constantly looking for things that will scare me, and existential horror seems to really do it. Like, that's the number one thing that gets under my skin. Not monsters, not ghosts. Existential horror, above all else, is the one thing that can really get under my skin, because it's the one thing that I know is true to myself above all others.
Yeah.
It's real. Like, even if there are monsters or whatever out there, there's nothing out there to save me from them. There's nothing out there for them to care about me. The universe is completely lonely. But also there's freedom in that, I think. You can't... Yeah. There's nothing looking out for you. There's nothing watching out for you. But that also means you can make any decision that you want. There's no consequences, really.
In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things. Of the decisions that you make.
But you will still go to jail, so...
Yeah, I mean, you could go to jail. You could still go to jail.
I ruined your whole really good talk.
Right, but, like, again, there's no being in the beyond that's caring about you specifically, or any of us. There's just darkness on the other side.
I don't want to talk about this anymore.
But that's the one subgenre of horror that really gets me. I spent my entire life looking for things that'll scare me, and I found it. Yeah. And it's the one thing that I know is real. Out of everything else. Not ghosts. Not
a ghost.
Not even like my own personal demons, like psychological horror or whatever. It's the nothingness that always gets me.
I don't like that. I don't like it at all. Don't do this to me. So to bring it on, I guess, a little bit more lighthearted note, the last thing that I really wanted to talk about is Chainsaw Man for anime wise.
Yeah.
Chainsaw Man is it's a manga for now, but there's an anime coming out for it made by MAPPA, the most gorgeous studio that treats their workers like shit.
Isn't that all of them?
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff coming out about MAPPA right now for fucking over workers. Once this video comes out, this will be like 4 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But there's MAPPA has, or somebody in MAPPA has come out and said that they were getting paid $2 per frame, or per, what is it called? Like in between framing.
Yeah.
So there's the keyframes, and then he was an in between framer.
Yeah.
And some of those in between frames can go anywhere from like 30 minutes to hours
Yeah.
to a day of getting the perfect in-between frames is getting paid $2 per frame.
Yeah. That sounds about right. I mean, the animation, if you're going to be an animator, it's not a good... You're not respected by your higher-ups at all. They will take advantage of you as much as possible.
One of the things that people don't talk about, though, is there's another company. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but Kyoto Animation makes a lot of very pretty animations, and they pay, as far as I know, pay their workers and treat their workers very respectfully.
Yeah. Which is odd. That's the outlier.
Yeah.
And because the thing is, there's no necessity for it, because there's nothing in place to prevent higher-ups from treating their workers like the scum of the earth.
Like, Kyoto Animation, the one that's a good one, is Violet Evergarden.
Yep.
And Silent Voice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But MAPPA even then, just yesterday, came out with a statement that was just like, we tell people what they're gonna get paid before the thing comes out, so it's your fucking fault. Basically.
That's like the worker who's like, if you don't want to be here, leave.
And then,
let me treat you like
basically
garbage, so leave if you don't want to be treated like a slave.
And then they also said at the end, anybody that complains about it will go after. Is basically what they said.
Yeah, like, that's not the statement that they...
good one, MAPPA.
Yeah,
good
that's one. Not... they should have had, like, a PR person.
No, that was the PR. Thank you. You're really helping the animation industry and Japan's suicide rate really help.
Japanese and I don't know a lot about like other Eastern animation studios. I do know about Japanese animation studios and Western animation studios, where there's not like any roadblocks in place for these higher ups to not take advantage of these people. So if there's no roadblocks, if you don't force people's hands, they will go to the bottom of the barrel of treatment.
Yep.
Because you can't just rely on people to be courteous and good-hearted.
Who was it? I can't remember who it was, what anime he was working on. But there was a guy that, like, had, I think it was a heart attack from stress, working so bad.
I bet, yeah.
Went into the hospital and came back 2 hours later to come back and finish his job.
Yeah.
And then after the workday was done, went back to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And he was so scared. I don't know if it was because he was scared to lose his job or just because he needed to finish the project or what.
There's also like a blacklisting problem for animators. Animators that complain
he was the lead on a animation project.
Yeah. Animators that complain about the treatment that they get can be blacklisted and not have any future work for them. Yeah. I mean, again, I know more about Western animation than Japanese, but I do know that it's sort of similar in that they're slaves. They're basically slaves.
But
they can't complain about their situation because it would hinder any future jobs that they get. And the animation world, it's like contract based, I think.
Yeah, it is.
So they can't opt out. They can't complain about their situation. It's not like everyone's like, oh man, animation's so cool, I want to go into it. And I'm like, you probably don't want to go into it.
No.
At least not until the climate is better handled.
Yeah.
Like it's coming out now to the public what it's like.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll mean some changes for these people.
And it's really sad because up until just recently, MAPPA was my favorite studio.
Yeah, and then you found out all that and you're like, ew.
Then I found out that they were Rockstar. Treating their workers like dog. But to go back to but they are going to be doing the animation work for Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
And Chainsaw Man looks very, very beautiful. And I would believe that they would pay their workers a lot more for how hard it looks like they're working on this one.
Yeah.
So hopefully for this one, their contract was a lot more. But
if
Chainsaw Man and...
I mean, you gotta hope there's some roadblocks in place for them.
Chainsaw Man in general is, I think, one of my favorite mangas, like, ever. And it's very recent. It's made by the same person that made Fire Punch, if you know what Fire Punch is. But there was a quote from the author that was basically saying that he's a misogynist, or not misogynist. What is it called? Masochist.
Oh yeah,
he's a masochist.
I was gonna say those are different things.
My brain broke right there. He's a masochist.
Masochist, not misogynist.
And he basically said that there was a girl in high school that was bullying him and kicked his bike, and then gloated to him that she kicked his bike, and he thought it was hot.
He's one of those freaks.
And so it looks like his kind of half like insert character is Denji, the main character of Chainsaw Man. And I think Denji is the most interesting character because the creator of it is so good at creating, like, every character has a very weird flaw, or a really big flaw. Denji is treated like absolute shit his whole life, and then gets told at his dad gets into some trouble and then owes the mob billions of dollars, then dies.
Yeah.
And then the mob comes up to him and says, "You owe us 70,000 yen or something like that by tomorrow, or we're killing you."
Yeah.
And then it just kept going for, I think it was basically like,
and then he became
he's an
Chainsaw
adult.
Man.
Yeah. Well, and then he becomes an adult, and it's literally like you see him years later, and he's sold parts of his body. He's fighting demons, these demons that are coming out of nowhere to get money. He's doing anything he can to get this money. And then they're like, this asset isn't making us as much money anymore. And then they try to kill him. And his little chainsaw pet dog is actually the demon of chainsaws. So what this universe is each demon is based off of a fear that humans have.
Yeah.
And each fear, however many people in the world are scared of that thing,
the more powerful
it is.
Yeah.
And so this little chainsaw dog is basically the fear of the chainsaw or whatever, and he merges with Denji to save him, and he turns into Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
This is fucking, I guess, what Chainsaw was supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And is fucking kills the fuck out of everybody in this warehouse.
Good.
And then the Makima, which is the girl character in this, comes in and saves him. And his whole life has been working for the mob to save himself. Yeah. Living off of scraps, living off of absolutely nothing with his little dog.
Yeah.
And now he's merged with it, and Makima comes in and is just like, I will give you anything to work for me.
Yeah.
And so he's like, he doesn't understand human existence, really. And so he's like, oh, this girl will give me tit for work. And so it isn't, he is horny.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's more like his flaw is that he doesn't understand that he's being manipulated by this woman.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's a bunch of other things that happen, but that's my big explanation of just the beginning.
That's pretty interesting. I kind of like the idea of, like, demons born from human fears. So, because that could lead to a lot of silly, stupid-ass demons. So
this is the only quote-unquote spoiler that I'm going to do for this, so I guess I'll put a timestamp or something of me. It'll be like 20 seconds of me saying this, and then it'll go away. But one of the funniest things in the world is Nazis don't exist because of something that happens in the world. And it's like Nazis used to be the most terrifying thing in the world, right? And then it was just Nazis don't exist.
What? I'm confused.
And so one of the most terrifying things ever is just they're just like, there's a reason why nobody remembers Nazis.
What?
And then that person right next to him goes, Nazis? What's that? I'm not giving you any context for that at all. But that's basically it.
It doesn't make any sense. What does that mean?
So, with that, let's end this. This concludes part 1 of General Horror. Tune in whenever the fuck I post the next one. Okay, bye.